Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. Okay, we're going to talk about Operation Spiderweb. For those who don't know, I found out about this yesterday. Operation Spiderweb was a covert Ukrainian operation that has been 18 months in the planning and execution. What Ukraine did was they put shipper crates with FPD drones, I think for destruction, not sure what the D is for, or first person display. They put explosive drones into shipping crates. They loaded these shipping crates into trailers. These trailers had a roof that was retractable. They then got big rigs to pull these trailers from Ukraine, or from the country of origin, I don't know if it was Ukraine, but from the country of origin into Russia. And then drove these trucks into Russia and eventually parked them outside of Russia, outside of multiple Russian targets, one of them being a strategic bomber airfield. There could be multiple airfields with this. Sorry, I didn't read up the story, so I don't have the specific details. But long and short, drones put into trailers, brought on trucks, brought into Russia, parked next to airfields. They once the folks transporting were away from the area, and I think according to Zelensky, they were extracted out of Russia. The tops of the big rigs opened up for the trailers, and the FPV drones flew out and started bombing Russia's strategic bombers, something that would be akin to their what we would have as the B-52s. These are the bombers that have been launching glide bombs from behind Russian lines and causing all sorts of havoc into the civilian population of Ukraine. They destroyed or damaged approximately 40 aircraft. That is approximately 1/3 of Russia's heavy strategic bombers. And I was looking at a little graphic last night of all the aircraft that Ukraine has destroyed. They had damaged one strategic bomber in all of the war. And right now they have destroyed or damaged an additional 40. I would assume many of those 40 are destroyed. There are clips that you can find on TikTok or YouTube. I'll dig one up and put it in the links so you can see the damage. It is just it's devastating in its precision. These aircraft cost, according to Wikipedia, up to $150 million a piece, depending on the upgrades that have been added. So replacement of approximately 40 of these aircraft, you're looking into basically several $1 billion worth of damage that was done to replace these aircraft, and they won't be replaced overnight. It was also to be noted that for aircraft like this, Russia has about 120 strategic bombers. Usually about 1/3 of them are down for retrofitting or maintenance or something. So by taking out 1/3 of Russia's aircraft, you have greatly reduced their ability to use heavy bombers in the theater of war for the time being. And basically, for the next several years, it's going to be greatly reduced. Peace talks happened in Istanbul today. Apparently, there was no breakthrough, but what a message to send to Russia. Oh, and lastly, Ukraine mentioned that their headquarters, that they were coordinating this, was in Russia next to an FSB headquarters. The message basically being, we're next to your security headquarters and we still pulled this off. You can imagine that Putin is not pleased. There's probably the higher ups in the intelligence agency and in the military are better not be near any windows. Hate for them to fall out of 10-story windows after being poisoned. So let's look at the energy of Operation Spiderweb. This is being described by some people as Russia's Pearl Harbor. Except that, They instigated a war over 3 years ago, and this attack it's devastating. You can imagine the morale devastation too, because they pulled this off behind Russian lines. Russia's intelligence agency was incapable of stopping it. It's expensive to replace those aircraft, and how can you trust Putin in this case? Fortunately, the Ukrainians went after military targets. Can you imagine if they were into assassinating people? Just saying. Let's look at the energy around Operation Spiderweb. For entertainment purposes only. Temperance. What a great card to start. This is going to... Now, Russia's saber-rattling, saying, oh, this is the start of a nuclear war. No, it's not. It's actually going to calm things down. Because you've just kicked them right in the crotch. for a country... probably second only to the United States these days, acting like they've got the biggest balls in the world. They just got a steel-toed boot right in there. Putin will be talking in a much higher pitched voice going forward because of this. And lastly, Donald Trump, remember how you said that Zelensky didn't have any cards? Guess what? Ukraine did not use U.S. intelligence for this. They did not tell the U.S. government about this, because Trump would have told Putin. So at least they're smart enough to know that they can't trust Trump. Now, mind you, this would have started under Biden, but it was probably a wise move on their part not to involve the U.S. in this. Nor, apparently, as reported, they didn't give the U.S. any heads up on this. Crossed by justice. Russia might say the whole war is unjust. This would be like the U.S. invading Canada. That's how close these countries were. And if Australia was on our border, it would be like us invading Australia. But temperance and justice, two major arcana here. This is, kind of, they gave Putin the black eye that he needs on this. Underneath it all, the King of Cups. Again, focusing on military targets, not civilian populations. How about black cats? Hello. Nico, you're kind of in the way. Here, you can sit right here. You can sit on my lap. All right. King of Cups. Putin's going to have a meltdown. Zelensky's going to be feeling pretty proud. I mean, they attacked military targets, and it's going to be quite a blow to the morale, the emotional morale of Russia for this. In the past, you got the Five of Coins. I think there was you can only imagine Zelensky and Ukraine's anger and frustration with the attacking of civilian infrastructure, especially attacking in Ukraine, from what I understand, they don't have central heating in houses. Maybe it's a Cold War thing. They have buildings that produce heat and then pipe it out to houses. So Russia was attacking that type of infrastructure so that no housing would have heat in Ukraine. Basically, leaving Ukrainian civilians out in the cold in the wintertime and attacking civilian targets, trying to crush the economy of the black cat. Stop it, you goof. I said you could sit on my lap. Don't you want to be a lap cat? Sit here. Show everybody how good of a lap cat you are. Yeah, I'm not a lap cat. I'm a table cat. I'm a tarot card sitting table cat. Yeah, you goofy cat. Call him a goofy dog. You goofy dog. I'm going to call you a dog from now on. Okay, so attacking civilians is out of bounds. Current situation, victory. This is going to boost not only that, saying how devastating to Russian morale this is going to be. This is going to be a huge boost to Ukrainian morale. They struck back and they hit Putin hard, and they struck back at the one thing that was being used to attack their civilian population. This wasn't an attack on Russian barracks and killing, 1,000 Russian foot soldiers or anything along those lines. They went after the equipment that's causing the problem. And without that equipment, Russia can't cause the problem. overarching energy is the Ace of Swords. Just, here at the Justice card and the Sword of Justice. This is what you do in a situation when your civilian population is being attacked. This is exactly what you do. There's nobody in the world who would even be approximating a neutral country that would say what Ukraine did was unjust. Well played. And Zelensky hinted that this wasn't the only operation. He's hinting that there's more operations like this to come. Lesson to be learned is the Hermit. The secret's been out. It was a covert operation. Secret's out. Ukraine has shown Russia what it's capable of doing, and they're warning that they're capable of doing more. How much more does Russia want to take with this? And outcome is the Nine of Wands. On a low end, you could say the rest of the world's waiting to see Russia's reaction because they're saber rattling about nuclear war and stuff like that. That's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. And if it does happen, we're all screwed anyways. But then all of a sudden, well, no, never mind. I don't think that's going to be the case. I really think this is more Russia and Putin and his administration worried about what Zelensky's got planned next, because he pulled this one off and Russia intelligence missed it. What makes you think he's not bluffing? What makes you think he might be serious that they could do this again? So kudos to Russia for Russia. Kudos to Ukraine for pulling this off. I want to find out. No, I could read on Zelensky. I could read on Putin. And, I think we don't need cards to kind of figure out what things are. What I want to read on are the Russian people. How are the Russian people going to react initially to this? And how are they going to react long term to this? Is this the spark that's needed to unseat Putin? Really, because something like this really could be the death of Putin's regime. I was not around in World War II. I don't know. When Japan attacked the United States at Pearl Harbor, I don't know how many people were blaming Roosevelt for allowing this to happen. I can only imagine that was there. But the U.S. was not at war, and it was a sneak attack. So, which is, it united the country, and people, young men everywhere were volunteering for that war because they wanted to, they were angry and they wanted to do something about it. In this case, can you imagine if the U.S. had been at war for 3 years and Japan then pulls off this surprise attack and sinks the Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor? They'd be calling for Roosevelt's head. Right? That's probably what would have happened. So, how are the Russian people currently reacting to this? Fool, new journey, or foolish acts. The Tower, Judgment. Oh gosh, Major Arcana, Page of Pentacles, Nine of Wands. Okay, their current reaction is this war has now just taken a major turn. No longer are you safe, even in deepest, darkest Russia, in this case. You have to be on your toes because the air raid sirens may be going on as bombs are being dropped. Type of thing. This is shaking just the general population. And this shaking could also lead to a judgment of Putin and the takedown of Russia. It's time for new values. There's at a minimum, there's going to be talking about taking things down, looking over their shoulder. Those are some major cards. This is a start of a new cycle. That's the Fool card is really the kind of thing that you want to see pop up if you were hoping that the Russian people were going to push Putin out of office. This, by the way, this story is criminally underreported in Western media. I went to AP News. Now, they did have something about Mount Etna exploding in Italy. I get why that would be on there. But it wasn't even... This happened yesterday. And it was not on front page news today. On AP News. And AP is a less biased news agency. I had to go to their World Ukraine-Russia War page to see any details on it. It didn't even... No, Mount Etna, obviously with the volcano and smoke coming out, is quite the visual thing to bring people in. But none of the subsequent headlines on that front page were showing this. This is a huge, huge development. This would be like the world newspapers not reporting on Pearl Harbor. You know? Not reporting on the dropping of the atomic bomb. Something just an absolutely... the landing at D-Day, or even the Battle of the Bulge. You know, significant events or turns in the war. What's going to be the long-term play for the Russian people? How is this whole thing going to impact them? 7 of coins. Oh, God, the economy. Russia's now going to want more money from their people to drive the war effort. Things are going to just keep grinding on, but I think the economy is really going to suffer for this. Underneath it all is the Lover's card. Oh, interesting. So we've got the Chariot and the Lover's card. If somebody comes through with any messaging about this war being too expensive and we need to move on from it, we need to make peace, this could actually drive peace talks. Although there was no breakthrough in Istanbul, that's understandable. Right now, Putin's too livid to probably listen to reason. And if Russia suddenly caved in, think about it. If Russia caved in at peace talks now, they would come across as extremely weak. So expect Putin to have a major tantrum over the next couple of weeks to get all his aggression out because he's been made to look impotent. When you've got big balls, you don't want to be looked at as impotent because, yeah. So many references. In the past, King of Swords. Harsh judgment. The government's been harsh has expected a lot of the Russian people. The economy is down. Russia is, it's taking their money. It's taking their sons. And now come the missiles and the drones blasting, and as the information starts spreading. Oh, I can only imagine Russian news media is not going to be broadcasting this, right? Absolutely, they're not going to be broadcasting this. So, in some ways, the Russian people need to get this information slow. That's what this is. The information right now isn't going to focus on that. It's going to slowly come because of the grip that the government has over the media. But it will come. They will hear about this. Wheel of Fortune, getting ready for changes. The wheel spins, changing coming, karmic coming. Lesson be learned is the Seven of Cups. It's about integrity, taking the good with the bad. Is this war worth it? I don't think they ever thought this war was worth it. And now when they get this information, it's going to be less worth it because the government's going to want to replace billions of dollars, and there's only one place to get that money now, and that's from the people. Outcome is the Magician. There's going to be a manifestation. What's going to manifest? A strong people wanting justice and moving away from international items. I think there's going to be a push by the people to move away from this war or move away from this government. I really do think that. So, let me dump these cards back in here. And then ask for basically ask a what's next type question. Ballsy move. Just wow. Now, again, I heard this yesterday evening. I was tired. I didn't want to do a reading last night. But, got some sleep in me. let's go ahead and get a reading up today on this. All right. What's next for Russia? What's next for Russia after this? What can we expect? High Priestess. Oh, the intelligence agencies and the Lover's card. Yeah, okay. Divine feminine wisdom. Lover's card. 7 of coins. Part of this to me, first thing I went to was the FSB. Okay, here's the intelligence agency that's been treated really well, but it's just been money well spent. But now the question is, there could be an underpinning of the wisdom of continuing the war when maybe we could start negotiating for peace, because it may not be worth it. Beyond the cost of replacing of those military assets, it's made Russia weaker against the rest of the world. That long-term bomber fleet, that heavy bomber fleet, is long-range bomber fleet. It's a deterrent. Don't come into Russia. We've got assets to defend ourselves and make your life miserable. Look at China. They're watching their neighbor getting the crap kicked out of them. And Russia took things from China several decades ago that China might want back, and Russia can't do a damn thing about it. Now, China hasn't done anything about that yet. It's territory on the eastern side of Russia that used to be in China. I can't remember the name of it now. I've done reading on it on my international channel, the now defunct international channel. But yeah, there's a problem here. What's next for Russia? The emotional walking away. They had the opportunity for peace talks. They didn't take it. But I think this is really going to take the wind out of the sails for people supporting this war. And here's just like the people. Here's the Wheel of Fortune. What's next? Do we want to keep on doing this? Look at all the major arcana. 4 major arcana here at this point. Overarching energy is the Moon card. Between the intelligence agency not being able to decipher what's going on, they're worried about what's going to happen next. And maybe it's just plain crazy to keep this war going. Lesson to be learned. This is their opportunity. This is a great opportunity for peace talks at this point, because it just may not be worth it anymore. That's not great. Outcome is the 5 of Swords. Okay, so everything's set up that peace talks can happen. What's going to happen is Putin's going to rely even more on his intelligence agency to find out things that are coming into the country to thwart any new attacks, figure out the secrets, and stop them before they start. 5 of Swords. The reason why I don't like this one is this is the card of losing. Putin's now thinking he might actually be thinking he's losing the war, and his ego can't handle that. And maybe he even thinks of peace talks as a way of him losing. Let's throw 3 clarifiers on that. King of Swords, Temperance, Justice. Wow, the 2 cards from the Ukraine reading are right there. Losing. This, he's asked too much of the people. There should be a break or a pause. It's right. This may not be as bad a card as I thought. My initial reaction was the 5 of Swords, that Putin, he can't lose. He's got to win at all costs. So he's going to double down. But maybe, just maybe, with this, sensible people are going to start pushing for peace. Start the peace talks process going on. Stop the craziness of this war. Because we don't know what's next. And if Ukraine pulls something off like this again, Russia's vulnerable, and they can't be vulnerable. They just can't afford to be vulnerable. So maybe welcoming the peace talks and, taking the black eye. That would be wildly optimistic from everything I've seen so far. Of course, if Putin himself were to fall out of a 10-story window and a new government came in, I could totally see peace talks happening. We shall see. Thank you very much for watching this video and supporting my channel. I appreciate it. This reading is for entertainment purposes only, but I hope that you found it insightful, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take care.